looking everywhere, that's how the story goes. Grab your gear, hold on tight.
The story so far. As chapter 10 ends, Rome teeters on the edge of oblivion. The undead plague has shattered the illusion of imperial control. The noble courts lie in ruins. The Tiber flows red. Cassian, scarred but unbroken, has taken a stand against the darkness. Lysandra has uncovered the hidden child of prophecy. Sabina has made a blood pact that may damn her soul. And deep beneath the palace, the Crimson Gate pulses with forbidden power. What comes next? In the chapters ahead, the Empire's final days unfold with terrifying beauty. Secrets buried for centuries rise with the dead. Tiberius begins his transformation into a god of death. Cassian faces an army of the cursed. Lysandra and the child must cross a landscape warped by horror. Sabina, reborn in fire, becomes both weapon and warning. As Rome burns, the story transforms from survival to destiny, from horror to dark rebirth. Prepare for epic battles, seductive betrayals, ancient rituals, and a love that may be the last light in a world of darkness. Subscribe to the Zombie Story Zone to witness the fall of Rome and the rise of something far more terrifying.
In the Zombie Story Zone, adventure never goes on. Welcome to the Zombie Story Zone, where the tales of the undead likely.
Night fell over Rome like a shroud of death. The stars vanished behind smoke. The moon turned blood red. And from the 7 hills to the sacred way, the dead moved in silence, like a tide of rot and memory. Their leader, Tiberius Corvinus, stood at their head, clad in blackened bronze, his eyes glowing with stolen sorcery. The last stand began. Cassian, his armor scorched and cracked, stood at the broken gates of the imperial palace. Behind him, only 50 guards remained, men and women who refused to abandon Rome. Beside him, Helena Liviana in crimson war paint gave the order: kill the body, burn the heart. If you see someone you love turned, don't hesitate. The dead came like waves crashing against marble. Blades clashed, torches burned, screams echoed through the forum. Lysandra's choice. Inside the palace, Lady Lysandra cradled her newborn child, his skin pale as moonlight, his black eyes watching her silently. Aquila Drusus arrived with a choice. We can escape through the Eastern Aqueduct, but the child must be hidden. If Corvinus captures him, it will not be Rome that burns, but the world. Lysandra hesitated. To abandon Cassian, or lose her son to prophecy? She kissed the child's forehead. He is no weapon. He is my son. And she chose to stay. The gate opens. Just a little below the Temple of Pluto, Princess Althea, Sabina, and Domina Cellini face the Crimson Gate. Its surface now pulsed like flesh, leaking whispers and black mist. Sabina read aloud the scroll's final verse. Only when blood freely given meets blood freely spilled shall the gate obey. Althea stepped forward and sliced her palm open. The gate hissed, not opening but awakening. It showed her something, a memory not hers, of a Roman prince kneeling before the undead and accepting a crown of bone. Cassian, the turning point. Corvinus breached the outer wall. His silent legion poured into the palace. Helena was wounded, dragged into the flames. Cassian fought 3 of the undead champions alone, but just before he was overwhelmed, a cry, a sound that froze even the dead. The child had screamed, and all hell paused. The palace burned, marble turned black, silk banners melted, gold statues collapsed, faces twisted as if screaming. Smoke rose toward the heavens, carrying the last prayers of a dying empire. The battle was no longer for Rome, it was for its soul. Helena's last stand. Helena Liviana, half burned, led her final charge through the Hall of Triumphs. Her armor cracked, her left arm broken, but her blade still gleamed with holy fire, a weapon consecrated by forgotten rites. Corvinus's undead champions, masked beasts of twisted steel and rotting muscle, blocked the way. But Helena laughed in their faces. You've taken my beauty, my home, my blood, but you will not take this city without a fight. She felled one, then another, but the third impaled her through the chest. As she collapsed, Helena whispered a spell, and flames erupted from her body, engulfing the enemy in holy fire. Helenite a warrior, a martyr. The lovers break. Cassian, covered in blood and ashes, dragged himself to the sanctuary chamber where Lysandra hid with the child. His eyes were cracked with exhaustion and grief. Helena was gone. The palace was falling. Hope had fled. He knelt before Lysandra. We can run, or die here, but I need to know, is he mine? Lysandra nodded. Yes, he is yours and theirs. Suddenly, the child opened his eyes. For the first time, he spoke. The gate calls me, father. Cassian stepped back, trembling. Aquila entered then, breathless. The gate has fully awakened. If the child touches it, it may close forever, or open without end. Althea's sacrifice. Beneath the city, Princess Althea approached the pulsing crimson gate. Its voice echoed in her mind, not with words but memories. Her mother's screams, her brother's first smile, her first kiss, her first death. She touched the stone. Blood dripped, visions surged. She saw two futures. One, her child nephew sealing the gate, but cursed forever as its warden. Two, or Althea stepping through, binding herself to it and stopping the flood at the cost of her life. She whispered to the gate, I will give you what you want, but let the others live. There was no dawn. The sun did not rise on the 13th day. Instead, a blood moon hung over Rome, casting long crimson shadows across burning ruins, dead gardens, and palaces soaked in ash. The choice of the bloodline. Princess Althea stood before the crimson gate, her hands trembling, her robe torn and blackened. Around her, the ancient runes pulsed in rhythm with her heart. Behind her, Sabina, badly wounded, held the child. Cassian's son, born of Lysandra and bound to the gate. Althea had one chance. Offer herself, and the gate would close, leaving Rome to rot slowly but spared invasion. Offer the child, and the gate would slam shut permanently, but what came after would not be peace. A curse would spread through the bloodline forever. Or open it fully and take the battle to the realm beyond. Althea whispered a name into the gate. It was Drusus, Aquila's truth. In the throne room above, Aquila Drusus revealed his secret to Lysandra. The blood of my line built the crimson gate. Yes, but we also trapped something inside. A god, a hunger, something older than the empire. Cassian drew his blade. You knew all along? Aquila nodded. I did, and now you must choose. Your son is either its heir or its jailer. The gate opens. Althea made her choice. She pressed both her hands to the gate and pulled it open. The stone screamed. A thunderous howl erupted through the city. The sky split. A vortex of black wind pulled at everything. Fire, rubble, bodies, even the stars. From the gate crawled something ancient. Not a beast, but a force. A shadow crowned in bone, eyes like twin comets. It smiled and spoke. Rome has remembered me. Now I shall remember Rome. The crimson god stepped through. The fall begins. Sabina is pulled into the vortex and vanishes. Domina Selene sacrifices herself to destroy the last undead general. Cassian takes the child and flees underground. Lysandra, bleeding, collapses in the arms of a fleeing slave. Aquila Drusus remains to face the god alone and is never seen again. Rome had fallen, not to war, not to famine, but to something ancient, vast, and cold. The Crimson God, a being of bone and shadow, now walked the earth. With every step, the marble cracked. With every breath, the dead obeyed. And the sky above the empire, black, starless, and full of whispers. The underground refuge. Far beneath the ruins of the imperial palace, Cassian, wounded and hollow-eyed, hid in a forgotten aqueduct chamber with his son barely wrapped in torn linen. With them, Lady Lysandra, feverish and pale from blood loss, and 3 surviving guards, all terrified, half mad. There is no Rome, one whispered. Only the gate now, another said. But Cassian still sharpened his blade. Even in defeat, he would not die on his knees. The Death Priests. In the Temple of Vesta, now blackened and twisted into a shrine for the Crimson God, the Death Priests rose. Nobles and senators who had pledged loyalty to the new order in exchange for Undeath. Their leader, Tiberius Corvinus, now transformed into a monstrous thing of silver and decay. He declared, "There is no empire, there is only dominion." The Death Priests began the harvest, dragging survivors from catacombs, burning old temples, converting children into living vessels. The return of Althea. And then, from the gate, Princess Althea emerged. But she was no longer just mortal. Her eyes glowed with red light. Her voice echoed with 10 others. Her skin was marked with runes of the gate itself. She had survived, but she had brought something with her, a shard of the Crimson God's soul. She was its vessel, and yet its only threat. "I saw what lies beyond," she told Sabina's ghost in a dream, "and I know how to kill it." For weeks, Rome had been silent. No birds, no bells, no breath, The undead ruled the surface, marching in perfect lines under the eye of the Crimson God, who now sat upon the blackened throne of the Forum, a god in flesh, silent, watchful, feeding on sorrow. But below, beneath the rot and ruin, the last flame of rebellion was lit. The call of the blade. Cassian, gaunt, half-mad, and covered in scars, sat sharpening his sword inside the aqueduct chamber. Lysandra, barely alive, whispered deliriously, clutching their son, who now hummed strange, ancient lullabies in his sleep. That night, the boy spoke again. "The gate still listens, Father. It still remembers your name." Then he handed Cassian something glowing from the shadows of the wall. The sword of Mars, once believed lost in the fall of the temple. Its blade shimmered with divine fire, returned perhaps by fate, or by Althea. Cassian kissed Lysandra's forehead, looked to his son, and said, "We fight." The ghost rebels. In the catacombs of the Aventine Hill, Althea, reborn and glowing faintly with the Crimson God's mark, raised her hands and summoned the forgotten dead, not the corrupted, but the unclaimed souls. Warriors, slaves, lovers, children, who had died before the gate ever opened. They rose, glowing pale blue, and bowed to her. "You are not its slave," whispered one. "You are its twin and its end." Althea began gathering them, Rome's final army. The sacrifice of the oracle. In the ruins of the Temple of Mercury, Sabina briefly returned, a ghost of ink and memory, and revealed a prophecy. The Crimson God cannot be slain by steel, but by the one it marked, who still remembers love. She faded. In her place, a pool of blood formed words. The child must reach the gate. The final uprising. Cassian, with a stolen group of gladiators and escaped guards, struck the outer districts. He led the first human attack in weeks, freeing dozens of enslaved citizens, including the former high priestess of Minerva and 2 Praetorian twins. Lysandra, watching from the shadows, wept, not from fear, but pride. He became the storm. The sky over Rome split like paper. Lightning danced blood-red across the ruins. The winds screamed like dying gods. At the heart of the Forum, upon a throne carved from bones of emperors, the Crimson God opened its eyes, 2 glowing pits of eternity. But this time, it was not alone. The final march. From every sewer, catacomb, and broken alley they came. Cassian, sword of Mars in hand, led the last warriors of Rome, gladiators, broken senators, servants, women, children, ghosts. Beside him walked Lady Lysandra, pale but unyielding, with her son wrapped against her chest. From the southern gate came Althea, blazing with ghostlight, her army of unclaimed souls marching silently behind her. She looked no longer like a princess, but like something divine and terrifying. The final battle had begun. The battle for the Crimson Throne. As undead legions swarmed forward, Aquila Drusus, thought long dead, appeared atop the broken temple of Jupiter. His body was warped, torn by his time within the gate, but his voice rang out. The gate must feed, or it must fall. He hurled down bolts of corrupted magic, striking both sides. His loyalty mind shattered. Cassian fought through blood and flame. His blade cut down corrupted priests, beasts, even friends turned undead. Althea confronted the Crimson God itself, and it spoke to her mind. "You are me. End this charade." She refused. The child ascends. As the battlefield burned, the Crimson Child, Cassian and Lysandra's son, stepped forward. Alone, all eyes turned. He raised his hand and the gate pulsed. Cassian cried, "No," but Lysandra whispered, "Let him choose." The boy walked into the gate and it exploded in light. The twist. The gate wasn't a prison. In a moment of blinding truth, Althea saw it. The Crimson Gate wasn't built to contain evil. It was she built to protect the world from what was already within humanity. The Crimson God wasn't a god. It was the reflection of mankind's darkest desires, given shape by centuries of bloodshed. And the child had absorbed it, not destroyed it, not sealed it, but become it. He turned, now glowing, powerful, neither living nor dead. "I'll remake the world," he whispered. The end of Rome. Cassian dropped his sword. Althea smiled through tears. Lysandra reached for her child, but he was no longer hers. The dead knelt. The sky grew silent. Rome fell. But something new was born. Years later, tales are whispered of a child king cloaked in shadow, ruling a world of silence and beauty and death. Cities bloom, then vanish. The oceans glow at night. No one dies, but no one lives as they once did. Some say he is merciful, others say he waits to finish what he began. And deep below the ruins of old Rome, a flicker of ghostlight still lingers. Althea's soul, watching, waiting for her moment. The gate never truly closes. The end. Subscribe to the Zombie Story Zone for more haunting tales, forbidden histories, and apocalyptic legends. The Crimson Empire rises. The end of Rome was only the beginning. In the shadow of a fallen empire, from the blood-soaked ruins of glory, a new ruler was born. Not from power or politics, but from prophecy and death. The Crimson Child, son of Lady Lysandra and Cassian, walked into the heart of the Undead Gate and emerged something else, something more. Neither man nor monster. He absorbed the Crimson Curse and became a god. Rome collapsed beneath him. The old world burned, but a new one now rises, ruled by silence, shadow, and beauty twisted with decay. Some worship him, others run, but no one escapes his gaze. Princess Althea, lost between life and legend, watches from the other side. She knows the truth. The gate is still open, and the real horror may yet come. Heroes fell, lovers broke, the empire ended, but the story is far from over. Subscribe to the Zombie Story Zone for more legendary horror sagas, ancient prophecies, undead empires, and fantasy thrillers like no other.
We'll survive the night. From the graveyards to the streets, hear the whispers low. Every story's a thrill, come and let your courage show. Fight